Greetings, this is Jazz for JazReviews with the all-awaited top 10 best games of 2013. Number 1 will be Game of the Year for me, so without further delay. Kicking off my list at number 10, the one fighting game I was really looking forward to, featuring 22 of the best DC superheroes, give or take. Injustice: Gods Among Us, developed by Mortal Kombat's NetherRealm Studios, is a game that offered one of the most superior storylines in its genre. It also had an insanely stunning presentation, great use of characters, and stellar mechanics. At number 9, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. As a massive fan of past games, I really didn't expect much from this title, what with its unusual button-mashing madness and, let's face it, a ridiculously over-the-top Japanese flair to it all. The biggest downside came down to the bottom line. It only lasted 5 to 6 hours. But you know what? As a complete spin-off, this game will go down as an all-time favourite for me in its genre. The countering system is refreshingly quick, all with technical swordplay and a great slice and dice mechanic, which never failed to entertain. But Rising's main selling point are boss battles. With so much enemy variation and alternating attack patterns, Rising stands as one of the best examples for keeping boss battles in gaming. Furthermore, the game's soundtrack was absolutely kick-ass. At number 8, welcome to the world of late 80s sci-fi cheese. Far Cry 3: Blood Dragon. In a future world destroyed by the inevitable nuclear apocalypse, Earth needs saving. And it's all down to Michael Biehn, part man, part machine, all cyber commando. With dozens of cheesy references and outrageously silly punchlines.
Frankly, anyone who thinks games are bad for you is a fucking idiot.
Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon stands as one of the most daring standalone expansions in gaming. For $15, what you get here is around 4 to 5 hours of horribly nostalgic, gooey substance built upon Far Cry 3's engine. Despite using nearly all of Far Cry 3's assets, Blood Dragon is one hell of an experience in its own right. Everything is so damn fun. Running speed is classically 4 to 5 times faster. Weapons are ramped up to ridiculously powerful standards, all with a very extensive attachment system. This game is on the list for true gameplay quality, value for money, and the fucking lols.
Jump, if you wish to jump.
Ah, for fuck's sake. I fucking hate tutorials. And this one is terrible.
At number 7, the game renowned for dildo-wielding colossal assholes, ironically calling themselves Saints. Saints Row 4.
Let's get this shit started!
I don't know what Saints Row is going for these days, but this title was one of the most fun games of the year, mainly due to the superpowers available for nearly the entire playthrough. It's strange, this game really shouldn't be able to sell what it has. Originally this project was nothing more than $30 DLC, but developers thought, hang on, let's actually turn this into a fully fledged Saints game. What I did notice was a lot less sexual jokes this time around, and a great deal more nerd-type references like Star Wars, Star Trek, Aliens, Robocop, and that stuff is always kinda cool and funny. The game's arsenal was slightly insane. Telekinesis and the prototype-inspired running and gliding spiel was very satisfying, yet at the same time it practically made vehicles and crew members pointless in the full scope of things. But overall, the game was a ton of fun, if not extremely easy sometimes. The game didn't come across as the next big title to me, more than just a collection of ideas formed and mashed together in a way that just set its development up for criticism. Yet despite its obvious flaws, Saints Row 4 was still a joy to play with drop-in co-op and the very enjoyable superpowers. I just don't know how they get away with it. At number 6, Battlefield 4. It's the game now that stands as a benchmark for graphics and presentation. It looks, feels fantastic in the most premium sense. Muzzle flash explosions, foliage, lighting and water effects are truly at the top of their game. One of my major criticisms with the previous game fell down to destruction, but with such an impressive engine, Battlefield 4 has rightly re-implemented a Bad Company-esque destruction system, whereby entire buildings can and will be taken down by players more frequently. But Battlefield 4 has come as a disappointment to many gamers. It had a very rocky launch that spawned numerous game-breaking bugs and glitches, whether it was reload issues, hit markers, markers, damage indicators, whatever. The single player was in many ways a marvel to look at, yet combat in itself was still severely scripted, disallowing the creativity found in multiplayer. And as expected, the story was poor and the campaign very short in length. Yet overall, this is perhaps still one of the most authentic shooters to date. But as brilliant as the Battlefield formula is, I can see why people are becoming more invested in games like Titanfall, which we hope will reinvent the genre. Battlefield 4 is fundamentally Battlefield 3 again, but that doesn't mean it wasn't completely worth its price tag. It just didn't quite deserve a higher spot on this list, which owes a lot to how broken its multiplayer has been for 2013. At number 5. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. So here we are again, same old Creed, different setting. I'll be honest, I'm not all that crazy about Ubisoft's cash cow these days, it just provides little to no challenge. But I've always had a little soft spot for piracy, and I do mean the raping and pillaging type of piracy. But sadly, Black Flag dances around the edges of piracy themes, never daring to embrace really any darker elements in a gritty and real way. What we have here is a very ambitious open-world Creed game, but I think it's a shame Ubisoft didn't take the plunge to make a truly excellent pirate game outside of the Assassin's franchise. The best thing going for this game was indeed the naval battles. They were bigger, more satisfying, and give a true sense of attachment and admiration for your own ship. Those water effects were mind-blowing. In fact, the environments in general for this title were beautiful, providing more reason for exploration this time around. The storyline itself was mediocre in my eyes, but the writing itself was gold. They got the terminology down to a T.
As is custom among our kind, we do not plunge headlong into folly on the orders of a single madman, but act according to our own collective madness.
The main character was just as good as Ezio in my opinion, but I just wish this game wasn't Creed. I think it's time Rockstar Games looked into the golden age of piracy.
Something to fear. Some hellish thing from a fevered dream. And men will drop to their knees, pleading for their lord.
At number 4. Tomb Raider. The trailer blew me away, and the game totally delivered upon its hype. Devs nailed the sense of survival with one hell of a gritty atmosphere. The production value was really great, visuals amazing. Cinematics and QuickTime events molded together extremely well, creating a lot of tension. The game was exceptionally brutal, especially if the player didn't pay attention. You just had to feel sorry for Lara sometimes. For a semi-open world game, exploration was a joy, with meaningful and interesting collectibles for a change. And there was also a real purpose to scavenge and hunt, which helped to unlock new skills and the like. Unlike older games, Tomb Raider did a magnificent job of maintaining perfect camera angles in caves, on ledges, or very tight corners. That I was surprised at. Lara herself looked great as a character model, even with the breast reduction paired with previous footage. I liked this game's style. It was a AAA title and it certainly felt like it. This game has set up so much potential for future games in the franchise. There's a lot of depth to Lara Croft now. What a good reboot. Getting closer now, at number 3, Bioshock Infinite. I gave this game 10 out of 10 myself, and there's definitely good reasons to support that. First off, it's the city of Columbia itself. The art guys behind the architecture of this city deserve a raise. The utopia of supposed ideals was one of the most interesting settings ever. Themes of oppression, class, patriotism were so intelligently implemented. Combat scenarios played brilliantly, what with the incredible gunplay and the elaborate cargo lines that could be grappled. Elizabeth will go down as one of the best developed sidekicks recently. In gameplay terms, Liz functioned in a very unique way. She would flawlessly assist the player in tossing ammo, missing coins, or allow the player to utilize the terror abilities through her. And as the character herself, everybody loved her due to consistent dialogue, depth of character, and fantastic voice acting. Bioshock finds the perfect balance between a focused narrative with superb attention to detail, but all with enough openness for the gameplay to excel. Bioshock has always been one of the most sophisticated shooters, and I really think they outdid themselves with Infinite. At number 2, yet another game with perfect scores around the board. Grand Theft Auto 5. This is the biggest GTA game to date in terms of detail, bursting with sheer content. With 3 main characters this time, the narrative unleashes a story that is not only very dynamic and refreshing, but also very well paced considering. In gameplay terms, the live switching system allowed the player to experience nothing but the most extremes in any one mission. In a way, GTA's heists were quite underwhelming at times, lacking many options in the full scope of things. Yet as missions in themselves, they were still extremely entertaining. The handling for vehicles felt a lot more arcade, yet still very responsive. A lot of San Andreas' side content or customization made return for GTA 5, including vehicle pimping and skill building. Despite what you may feel compared to previous games, the single player was brilliant in any way you looked at it. Grand Theft Auto Online, on the other hand, had a disastrous launch and was basically unplayable for a month. In conclusion, however, I've been playing GTA since the very beginning, and considering the game released at the very end of a console generation, developers knew what people wanted, making this one superior to Nico's Liberty City. And finally, at number 1, a game that did grab 10 out of 10s, yet I would have perhaps given it a 9 on a technical level. Call of Duty Ghosts. What are you, fucking nuts? No, it's The Last of Us. So how did it get to number 1, you say? Well, based on my subjective taste and opinion alone, it was the story and very nature of the game that won me over. This title was a stealth game, and it actually made me think and use more strategy than any other game on this list, with the exception to perhaps Battlefield 4. Come to think of it, Rising could get a bit mental too, but I digress. Last of Us was a very polished game, with rich, immersive environments that were graphically impressive, along with superb sound design. For the most part, enemy AI functioned very convincingly, and when it all worked, it became one of the greatest survival horrors I can think of. Frantic and riveting encounters occurred constantly thanks to the grouping of enemies. Now, the main characters, Joel and Ellie, were beyond well written and voice acted. Ellie is once again a fantastic companion that assists the player without error. My only gripe with her was the fact that she would sometimes totally fuck up her sneak and end up right in front of an enemy. It didn't break the game since enemies don't physically see her, but it can break immersion somewhat. So the game went on for about 12 to 14 hours, but also featured a fully competitive multiplayer which was surprisingly well implemented and still within context. All in all, you have to play the game for yourself to truly understand Last of Us. But I love how games are evolving these days. Stories are becoming darker, more mature, and in the hands of Naughty Dog, this game has no equal in the industry right now. This has been Jazz for JazReviews, and this has been the top 10 best games of 2013. Sorry for the delay, the writing and editing process can get a little crazy sometimes, but please do stay tuned for the top 5 disappointing games of 2013. That'll be interesting, I promise. But thank you for watching. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, which can be found in the description below. Do us a favor, like this video, otherwise just have a good day and carry on about your gaming business. I'll see you in the comments.